Now we're focusing on the commodities markets and their appeal as an alternative investment. Prices of agricultural commodities have shown particular strength of late, driven up by concerns over supply and rebounding demand. Well, alongside me now is Michael McGlone, Senior Director of Commodities at Standard & Poor's. So what is the reality on the commodity markets right now? What is fueling the drive?
Well, it depends on what commodities you talk about. The overall commodity market, I think the bottom line is commodities have had a little weak period. They've had issues with contango. That's areas when you have to roll into levels that might reduce returns in futures, and it's very much related to the global economic situation. Globally, we've had a bit of an economic slowdown or contraction, so that's reduced the demand for commodities. But the bigger picture for commodities is the world is basically, there's 6 billion people in the world, and maybe less than 2 billion have a lifestyle similar to we have, and the rest of the world is achieving that at a very rapid pace. So the bigger picture is pretty solid demand for commodities from most of the emerging markets and the rest of the world.
And where do you stand on agricultural commodities specifically right now? We've seen wheat, corn, soybeans all rising. Is that set to continue?
The thing about agriculture commodities, you can grow them in your backyard. So, for instance, wheat. Wheat's really the most widely produced global agricultural commodity. Almost every country in the world grows wheat, and you can grow it on a semi-annual basis. There's spring wheat and there's winter wheat. So the best way for lower prices in commodity is higher prices. So yes, we've had this issues lately with drought in Russia, but what that will do is bid up the price like it did in the past, and it provides a lot of incentive for people to produce and for growers to plant wheat. So I don't, you can come out with new supplies of wheat in 6 months, and right now overall global supplies of wheat are not low, they're rather high.
Well, exactly, that's what I wanted to ask you. Are actual stockpiles slipping? Is there a physical shortage in things like wheat and sugar, given that emerging market economies are expanding at a much faster rate at, say, the US and Europe, or is it just purely speculative?
Well, there's always some of that, but what does speculation do? If speculation helps bid up the price in the short term, it'll bring on supply. And that's basically what happened to sugar. Sugar had a massive move last year, and it's basically, recently it's had strength, but there was a lot of incentive to produce more sugar, and the price helped provide that incentive.
And what about gold? It's trading within a fraction of its all-time high at the moment, but what is the outlook at this point?
Well, we don't really focus so much on outlook. At S&P, basically, we measure markets based on indices, and we have our indices, and obviously gold, when you talk about commodities, is the ultimate commodity. I mean, you can store gold on your finger. It's the most storable commodity. And based on that, the number one factor in the price of gold, one of the number one factors is obviously is investment, but it's the alternative cost of interest rates. And interest rates globally are essentially the lowest ever, and certainly the United States expected to stay that way. So when you have basically zero return in your bank account, you have plenty of incentive to put that money someplace, because you're not going to, you're not have the alternative incentive of higher interest rates, and with interest rates very low, store gold or buy gold.
Does gold carry an element of risk, though, because of a lot of people are piling into the trade? Well,
there's been the term bubble used with gold, and people say, well, it depends on what stage of the bubble, but gold is the ultimate storable asset. And what's your option for where to invest? You want safety, you want store value, and what are you getting in your bank account? What are you getting from a T-bill? Virtually nothing. So it has a lot going for it. The problem is it's been up so much since the beginning of the decade.
Thank you so much for coming in.